All right, welcome everybody to the MAPS holiday calls. This is 5 things to fix in your command before New Year's Day. And lucky you, Tim, how many days are left in the year?
Not many. Not many at all. Depending on if you're here live with us, we've got less than 10 by my math, with a few holidays mixed in there for some, a lot of holidays mixed in there for others. It's going to be a all-out sprint to the end of the year.
No. So this is Tim Beverlin. He's my partner in crime for today. He is a MAPS technology coach among several other titles. Tim, I'll let you do my intro.
Yeah, this is Mike. I don't think you even need an intro at this point. New dad, Mike Hillary from Chicagoland, and fellow MAPS coach and all around smart guy when it comes to technology and systems. And we're gonna cover those 5 things today. We're gonna go into a lot of details with those. We're gonna spend about 45 minutes or so of content. There will be plenty of time for questions. Feel free to jump in at any time, though. Utilize the chat box. Come off mute. We'll just ask if you come off mute. Make sure it's at the appropriate time when you want to ask a question, not just for fun. And bring in any questions that you may have as we cover these 5 things with you today. Did I miss anything there, Mike?
I think we're good. The session is being recorded and it should be ready by the end of the year for anybody jumping on.
Great. All right, well, let's jump into it. I'm going to share my screen because that's what we tend to do in these. And we're going to just get right into the 5 things. So let's start with the first one, Mike.
Yeah, so, we're putting tags on all these gifts typically. And, I don't know about you, Tim, but I have a large collection of tags that just don't do anything in my database.
They're just there.
They're just there. And like, it was a good idea. And then I realized, oh, I've never used this. And you want to kind of treat tags like your fridge. At some point, they all expire. And so please don't keep expired things in your fridge.
Even the mustard expires at some point.
I actually threw that out on Thursday. But so, here's the thing is you want to find tags that make sense for how you conduct business. Now, we have a list of default tags in command already, but you may need some tags that are specific just for your team, the way you guys conduct business. You may need custom tags, right? And so Tim, when it comes to like the purpose of a tag, why should I even add a tag to somebody?
Yeah, the way I think about tags is really about the quick filter function that I can utilize with tags so that I can target a specific group of individuals inside of my contacts. There are other reasons to consider tags, and we have one listed there, which are tag triggers for smart plans. So that every time I put that tag on somebody, if it will trigger a smart plan, that would allow me to be a little bit more efficient. Yet it really is, in my view, it's all about how do I make my database actually smarter at a quick glance. So is it worth us pivoting and actually pulling up Mike's screen and taking a look at where do I start? This is new to me, or maybe it's not new to me, but I'm looking at ways in which I can clean it up efficiently.
Yeah, so let's jump in. So this buys me time to share my screen. So you'll notice I am already in settings here in command. So to get here, you click your name in the top right corner, come down to settings. You'll see under command settings, nested under this contacts menu is the list of every single tag on your account, right? Now, these system tags, you'll notice the edit pencil and the trash button, they are grayed out. You cannot take them off. We use this to collect information on, okay, so how many buyers do we have? How many agents do we have? We just take kind of this overall count, right? Now, all of these are custom tags that I've put in over the years. You can tell when I first jumped into command, December 2018 is when I started my team. Like there's a bunch of tags in here that I just don't use anymore. I will say my favorite tag in here is this fix me tag, right? For those of you who've read Atomic Habits, right, the power comes from making a big project really small, really quickly. And so this fix me tag, I apply to every contact, and I'm probably going to do it again this year just to make sure I have their right contact information. Do I have their name spelled right? Do I have their email spelled right? How about their phone number and address, right? And so if I'm going to get rid of a tag here, like I don't need this HK invite today. I can just quickly hit trash and delete it. Now, because it's linked to a contact, it's going to warn me. And I intentionally picked this one, right? So what do you do when it's linked to a contact, Tim?
Well, first I've got to go in there and actually unlink it to a contact. I've got to remove this tag from those particular contacts.
Yeah, so here's kind of a fun little cheat here. If I go to the contacts applet and I do a bulk select, right? And I can go as high as I want. So we'll go 500 here. I can bulk select and I can find remove tags. What this will do is it'll actually give you a count of how many contacts in your database have that tag. Now, you'll notice I have some duplicates in here, right? I have some that are legacy tags from my personal account and some from my team account, right? So some of these, I just need to go clean up those legacy tags and make sure these all line up, right? So I have one person with a commercial tag. Seeing as I'm not using that to inform any of my touches or the way I'm communicating with agents, I probably don't actually need this tag, Tim.
Right. So you just totally remove it. And what's happening here is it's removing it from that contact. So you're not actually removing the tag from the system. You're removing the tag from that one single contact that's in there.
And you always want to keep your database as clean as you can, because believe it or not, if you send messages to emails that don't exist, the email provider's like, well, clearly you don't know what you're doing, so this must be spam. And so it always counts against you anytime you send a smart plan message or campaign through command mail. And so it's just one of those things to be in the habit of, is just constantly be cleaning.
Yeah. So a couple questions came in. I've got a tag that maybe I want to change. So back to Mike's screen in these settings, you can edit that tag name. So what I found common in my world is I'll maybe make a typo when I'm creating a tag. Maybe I'm the only one that's ever made that typo. And then I realized, oh no, I've got in there two different ways to spell the same thing. I wrote attorney with one T and then two T's. Or maybe I had attorney and then I had lawyer. And I don't need that duplication. So what I can do is I can go in and pick one of those tags. There we go, Mike to review. And I could just change the tag name. This will automatically update any contacts that have that tag to the new tag name. So more often than not, rather than removing the tag, I found myself just editing that tag to make it say what I wanted it to say. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? The high energy of a tech morning or afternoon for all of you. Okay. What else are we missing on tags?
So it's a good idea to define when a tag gets applied and when a tag gets removed, right? At what point do I need to remove a tag from somebody? Because not every tag should be permanent.
Right. So how do you know if it's worth removing a tag?
Well, if they're only in there for like a temporary state, like for example, somebody who you're looking to get pre-approved, if that's a list in your database that you're looking to contact, chances are they're going to get, some of them are going to get pre-approved. And so at that point, they would come off that list.
So the action's actually been completed, or your fix me tag. Great example. You've actually fixed the contact now, so I don't need the fix me tag on there anymore. I've seen the same question a couple different ways, so I'll say it out loud. Can I change system tags?
No, you cannot.
Is there a plan to be able to change system tags?
Tim, we should go find that out, because I'll be honest, I haven't asked that question in a while.
I haven't asked that question in a while either. The last I asked it, the answer I got was not at this time. and yet it hasn't yet. So we can certainly ask that question again to find out, is there a plan to remove or have the ability to remove system tags as the vision has continued to expand for our technology?
I'm writing it down. Cool.
Got the merge question a couple different ways as well. Can I merge tags together? Can I do that, Mike?
No, but here's kind of the way I would walk you through it. Rather than try and merge, what is the combined tag you want to use, right? So what you can do is you can filter down. Let's say I need to filter down all of these agent tags, right? And so I have 136 here. Expand my list so I can keep it. I'm going to apply a new tag, right? That makes sense, right? So I have a system tag for it. And then I want to remove the old tag, right? And I'll just do that and add both to the pool, remove the old ones. And that'll be how you merge tags, so to speak.
Got it. So what I heard in that, Mike, was I'm going to select all those that I'd want to merge together, create the new tag that's going to apply to that entire list, and then remove those two tags that I don't any longer need. I don't know if that came out better or worse.
No, that works. Yep.
All right. So how he did it again, he selected the entire list, went to bulk action, added a tag to accomplish whatever his new goal was.
Yep. So let's say I want to filter these down, add tags, and I want to make sure these all have the one Chicago Market Center tag. Boom. Add selected.
And now you can select that same list again and maybe remove city if you would like to.
Yeah, it turns out I really don't use that one.
So now he's taken that same list and it should now all have one Chicago and no longer have city.
Yeah, and here's the fun part. Your page may load faster than command pulling off the contacts. So if you see a few stragglers, don't panic. Just quickly refresh your screen and it should be done processing.
Especially if you're doing 500 contacts at a time, you may find that it takes a little bit of time to refresh.
You know, it takes some time for actions to go from your computer to the cloud and back.
Great. Other questions on tags? I know we're spending a majority of our time, but this is the point. I want you to get your database as clean as possible over the next couple of weeks so that hitting 2023, you've got a smarter database.
Yeah, and for those of you who spend any time in the kitchen, this is essentially your mise en place, right? Everything in its place. When your tags are squeaky clean and organized and where you want them, everything else you want to do in command gets so much easier, especially these next 4 things we're going to ask you to fix before New Year's.
Great. Question popped in, commonly used tags. I'll just give you one that I thought was really smart, and Mike said it before we even started today. DT, D2, having all those tags in there to quickly be able to sort your database.
Yeah, and you'll find your schedule in your bold manual for those of you who've been this year.
Yeah. Any other tags that you're using, feel free, pop them in the chat box. Let us know. We can all get smarter together. All right, so we've got tags. What's next? Second thing to fix
is ownership, right? So this always comes up usually on my RTT side when there's a high emotion exit that has to happen quickly. And nobody exactly knows which contact should go where. So before you get to that, you want to make sure to be very clear on who has the rights to that contact data, right? Who gets to take their Tonka trucks home with them, and who should be the one person responsible for maintaining the relationship between transactions. This is your assignee. Right? These 2 fields can make it so much easier when, life changes and somebody has to relocate for a job, or, you bring someone on your team and, Tim, they want to bring on all 35 cousins into their database.
Yeah, and generally speaking, if you join a team or you start a team or you're a rainmaker of a team, you don't bring people onto your team with the expectation that they're going to leave you. And yet the reality is life happens. Things change.
The reality is 99% of people end up leaving a team over a long enough time.
Yeah. So getting that squared away right in the beginning. Now, for all of you that are individual agents and you're saying, what does this have to do with me? You may have on your business plan this year or on your goals for 2023 to start a team or to add someone to your command world as a small team or a group. This would apply to you as well at the time you're actually setting it up. So determining who owns what, Mike, I liked your quote at the bottom of this. You're going to see that again. Skipping this step makes messy, high emotion exits. And we are looking for clean, low emotion exits when possible.
Yeah, so like this is just an example of ways we've seen this organized here in the Mid-American region, right? So contacts that are owned by the Rainmaker. Well, Tim, if you're on my team as a buyer agent, anybody who's in Mike's sphere belongs to Mike. If you use team resources, like so for open houses, our admin side did everything on the prep side. You brought people to the open house, we recorded the info, those leads owned by the Rainmaker. Same with social media ads, right? Whether it's a team event, a team dollar, a team resource, chances are that's going to be a team owned contact. Now, if I'm a buyer agent, right, any relatives, past clients, right, you want to get this list clear in both a representative of the team and the agent sign it saying, we agree, this is how it goes.
Oh, so a written team agreement would be really important to have here.
It's incredibly protective of your most valuable asset because when people buy or sell real estate teams, because I've actually seen that happen in 2022, I expect more in 23, they're actually buying your database.
No different than buying a medical practice, you're buying the database of that medical professional. So contact ownership, it matters. It matters in a really big way. Again, this is just our example here. Talk to your local leadership team to find out what is the best practice in our state or in our province or in our country, for those of you that are outside North America, and what makes the most sense for the way you want to operate your business. Yet far easier to do this as early as possible in the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not the day someone tells you, hey, guess what? We got to move to Florida.
Yep. All right. Next.
So, it's only a system, Tim, if it's documented, right? If someone can pick it up when you're not there, then we can call it a system. And so where I've noticed, especially this year, there's been a large gap in really this cultivate phase and really defining what means what. Because if I just threw out the word lead, Tim, and I asked everybody to define it in the chat, I think we would get 348 different answers.
Yeah, what does a lead mean to you versus what does a lead mean to me could be vastly different.
Mm-hmm. And this is how you move really from a group to a team, is having standards like this. So this is an example, right? Everyone in the database agrees a new lead is someone who is at the top of the funnel. We need to qualify them immediately to add them to one of these items, right? And then we move through your 12-day plan. Any new leads, as defined above, get contacted once daily for 12 consecutive days, or whatever your style is. The lead pool, people who are leads, but we don't have them in our phases and cultivate. If there's over 100, they're available for everybody else. And these last three are probably, they seem obvious, but you'd be surprised on the answers I get. Right?
Even back to new lead, I've heard many of our agents and teams define a lead as someone who is looking to transact real estate in the next 12 months, sometime within the next 12 months.
Yeah, and we'll come back to lead pool, Justin. I'm introducing the term here, but you'll see it on the next several slides. And so the checklist should be your process on how you plan to service these clients, whether they're sellers, buyers, landlords, or tenants. Right? And so if these don't exist in your checklist, where do they exist?
Well, it looks like you would have to create custom stages for many of these checklist items. Or there's a couple different ways you do it, or you could add it to those checklists themselves within a stage.
Yeah, these are all based on the default stages available in opportunities. Now, if you want to customize, go for it, right? But this is a great way so at a glance, you know exactly where you are in terms of your progress for the year. Now, how many in this room attended one of the like shift workshops that James Shaw put on this year?
See lots of hands.
Lots of hands. Do you remember the number he said of how many of your closings you want to have under contract to start the new year to be on track for your goal?
I see 20% popped in the chat box.
Yep,
15%.
15%.
All right. So
Right?
Paul, you'll be ahead at 20%, which is great.
Yeah, go for it.
15% at a minimum.
And so my question is, do you have enough leads in your opportunity pipeline to match that 15%? If not, start plugging in these checklists and place your clients where you think they are in the process.
Okay, so we're going to take a look at your opportunities, and what Mike is saying here is you're going to be able to start to predict your income for 2023 or 15% of your income based on what's in your opportunities right now.
Yeah, so this is really kind of where this dashboard comes in handy. If you ever wondered where like these potential and probable income come from, it's all the entries here. Chances are this cultivate is more stacked than any of the other phases.
And cultivate for many of us is when the relationship goes from personal to professional.
Yeah, and you start to find out, oh, hey, guess what? We better keep an eye on these people, right? We're starting to think. Now you'll see I have my 12-day new lead, I have my watch, my nurture, and my hot. And we caught this today. I'm in the middle of retooling my checklist. So it's a great time to start to put in what we put on some of these slides, Tim. I figure we'll do that live rather than me prep some of these.
Great.
So let's flip back to the slide deck because I want to walk through the opportunity pipeline. This is where business happens on purpose, right? So hot. What is a hot lead, Tim? Well, this is somebody who's ready, able, and willing to transact within the next 90 days. Now that's fairly a yes or no question.
Yeah. Are you going to be homeless in the next 90 days?
Mm-hmm. And so the leads that go in here, this is the list of checklist items, right? So if they're going to be making a move and they need to close in 90 days, you want to make a phone call every single week. Because there's probably some homework they have.
Way. We'll put that out there too.
I assume at this point you have permission, right? So document your permission and put your conversations into the CRM, and you'll never have to worry about TCPA.
When you receive their permission to contact them. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Okay, so 90 days or less in most of your states, provinces, or countries, you're going to have to be under contract or in escrow by when?
Usually a month or two in advance.
Yeah.
30 to 60 days. Yeah.
So you're in that sweet spot right now. So again, back to the numbers of being able to predict your income for 2023, who are you putting under contract in the next 2 weeks?
Who's
if
ready?
They're going to be homeless in 90 days.
Yeah. Who's ready?
All right. So phone call. What's next, Mike?
Well, so it depends, right? So if you have a buyer, at this point, you're starting to figure out their criteria. What are they starting to look for? Where do they want to go? So you put them on instant save search updates. Because if they're ready, able, and willing, they're already looking at houses. They've already been looking at houses for months. And so this is your way to provide the value quickly to them, right? Now, if I'm a seller, I want to know who I'm competing against in this market. And so every time a home comes up for sale in my neighborhood, you're going to tell me that via either a save search on my contact card or setting it up, having them set it up through their app.
Yeah. So a question that often comes up at this point is, well, my neighborhood's not defined. It isn't a defined area. So what do I do for a saved search? And this is where the drawing option comes in.
Yeah. And so let's show that one, Tim. I'm going to steal your screen share.
Yeah, go for it.
So let's grab fake mic here. And yes, there is a fake mic. Very much has the fix me tag. So I'm going to go into my contact card. I'm going to go to saved searches here. and I'm going to create one. And so I can choose immediately draw on a map. And so I'm going to pick one of my favorite addresses here, 1060 West Addison, home of the Blues Brothers, and a certain baseball team on the north side of Chicago. And so the way the city defines their neighborhoods is different than I would. So maybe I'm looking between these, and I actually want to exclude this part, but I want to come back here. This can be the saved search that I draw. Now, there's no limit to the size of this saved search. In fact, if I really wanted to, I can grab all of this and apply. Now, that's not going to be extremely helpful, but if you have a wide range of, let's say, counties that you deal with, this is perfect, right? And you can narrow it down based on price criteria, what property types, right? Is it for sale? Is it coming soon, right? Let's say I need 3 beds, right? So I know exactly who I'm competing with. I'm going to hit next. We're going to call this map search. And I'm going to ask, do you want email notifications or do you just want to receive these through the app?
Yeah, so let's go with email notifications.
Cool. It's going to ask me how often that happens. And so when we say instant, we set the expectation that it'll show up within 30 minutes because that's when some of the MLSs tell us. Others are faster, but we're not going to make promises we can't keep with this. And anything else, you're going to see when this typically sends.
Yeah, and as the receiver of this, your client will have the option to turn it off. So just keep that in mind. If you put them on instant and it turns out they're not 90 days, they're 900 days away from transacting real estate, they may elect to turn it off. Still has client choice. I saw a couple questions in the chat box about zip code. Is that an option? Yes.
Yep. You have zip code and neighborhood. Now it's limited to 1 zip code. So if they're really that specific, go for it. But if you need to contain multiple, highly recommend the draw option.
Absolutely. All right, other questions on this safe search. This is maybe one of those hidden things that I'm not sure everyone is utilizing at the highest level. I know that I'm on a couple safe searches, which is a good note. You can have your clients on multiple safe searches. So maybe they're looking to sell their primary residence in Chicago and they're looking to buy in Florida because it's too cold in Chicago right now.
Oh, it's not that bad, Tim.
So I can also pick Orlando. I can select maybe a specific neighborhood in Orlando we want to be, either as a primary or an investment property in Winter Park. And as Mike's drawing it through, now we've got multiple saved searches for the same client. Melanie, I see your hand popped up. What question do you have?
Yes, I have 2 questions. First, I saw on one of the search criteria that there's foreclosures. Does it actually pull foreclosures into the system?
If the MLS sends it, and this is the key, if it tells us it's a foreclosure versus one of these other property types, then yes, it will include it. I have found in practice that is very rare.
Yeah. My other question is, if they turn off the search and then they want it turned back on when they're closer to their 90 days, is there a way to turn it back on?
You would simply just create a new one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because what'll happen is, so if I reject this one, because I can do that from the app, probably not quickly enough, it will gray out. So the agent can't take additional action on it because the consumer made their choice. And so if they say, hey, hey, how do I turn these back on? You would just simply go in and create a new one. It's the fastest path.
Yeah. A couple questions that came up. How do we do that again? And simply create a new safe search. You can create as many as you'd like.
Yeah, well, we have not found a limit yet. So let me know if you come close. My record is
I'm on 10 personally.
Oh, my record's 23.
Great. I'm not looking to beat that.
Not that I'm competing, but
yes. So question, what does it look like to your client? It's an email they get with new property matches. What a best practice, put yourself in as a contact, put yourself in as a client, put yourself on a saved search for your neighborhood or where you live and put it at instant. See what it feels like.
And just like any good chef, you should taste your dish before you serve it.
For me, instant was too much salt.
Yeah, my poor inbox.
Okay. Any other questions on Save Search? I'm doing my best to hit them as we go. Do you suggest using this instead of another system? You know, kind of agnostic to this, other than I like that I can see what clients are looking at from this lens. So however you treat your database and stay in communication, and do the number of deals you need to do.
Yeah, that would be whatever path you choose, make sure you can see what they're doing. And if it matches what they told you their criteria was, because it's a great way to figure out, oh, hey, does this match what we were looking for?
And the question about MLS, which MLS is it pulling from? It's actually pulling from 800 plus MLSs.
Yeah, last counted, it's over 850 MLSs are brought in. So you're not limited to just what your MLS does, because I know there are several that may overlap each other where it goes in one, but it doesn't go in the other.
Yeah. All right, looks like we've got a couple questions. Jessica, see your hands up.
Yeah, my question is, do they have to like somehow connect with us or accept that before it starts going out? It seemed like in the past that was a problem I was having. I just started sending Safe Search. The client wasn't receiving it, and it turned out because they weren't they hadn't connected with me through the app or through the email.
The best practice is to walk them through kind of that setup process and have them sign up on their own, right? Otherwise, that shows up as spam, right? Because it's not something they ever opted into. You just sent it. And that's how like the tech sees it. We may have had a conversation about it. The best practice I would say is get them to download the app using your code and register and make sure you show up as the agent, because then you can have the fiduciary conversation. This allows our team to see everything that's happening, right? We won't share it with anybody, but we want to make sure what we're talking about matches what you're expecting.
Do you get notifications if the client shuts it off? We do not get notifications real time. You'd have to see it in their contact card.
Yeah, and if you're following the pipeline, you'll look at their contact card every week. So you'll see it within a week of it happening.
Yeah. And this kind of goes back to opportunities. So often I get the question of, I've got, 7,000 people or 5,000 people in my database. I can't go through the contact cards of all 5,000 people to be able to tell what's going on. We're not asking you to do that. Yeah. Instead, look at who do you have an opportunity created for. Now I can get that list much smaller. So Mike, how many people are in your database?
5,238.
And yet you had 25 opportunities in your cultivate stage.
Correct. Yeah, not everybody is ready to move right now.
So I can narrow that down to 25 and I can see what they're doing. All right. How do we do a Safe Search?
I do want to address the team's question from Justin here. It's kind of dealer's choice right now. I recommend follow your assignee path. If it is a team-owned contact, right, and it's assigned to someone on the team, just whoever it's assigned to, follow it, right? So if Tim should be the one interacting, he'll want to see everything happening.
That makes sense, because that's often where the relationship is as well. Because that's the person's going to help them transact real estate.
Yeah, and I do know there are plans to better integrate that with our team experience.
So how does that affect ownership of the lead?
Well, so what'll happen is it'll come in under that personal account, but because you have it on the team account, you'll have it documented.
There we go. All right. That's hot. Yep. I know we spent a lot of time on that. Nurture.
Yeah, you throttle it back a little bit, right? Somebody who's ready to go between 3 and 12 months, it may not be every week. It may not be instantly every home that's coming on the market. You want to catch them in their search phase, which typically is 8 to 10 weeks, given, what NAR continues to publish year after year. That behavior really hasn't changed over the last, 15 years, Tim?
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent that 8 to 12 weeks away from them actually closing on real estate is when they get really serious about searching for properties.
Yeah, and so it's just a dialed back version of the frequency, right? So instead of a phone call every week, it's 2 phone calls a month. buyers are on a weekly saved search, sellers are on a weekly saved search. And rather than sending them a market update every 2 weeks, it's more on the monthly cadence.
Yeah. So all of these touches are designed to inform the client of what's happening in the market and invite them into conversations about real estate. We went to a holiday party in our neighborhood last night, and what came up was, how did we choose this neighborhood? Well, what's so interesting about going through that conversation with a few different people is sometimes it was the home that popped up that caused them to get serious about searching for real estate. So a number of our neighbors were on some version of a saved search, house popped up in the neighborhood, and that caused them to take action. So you think about that same logic, 2 phone calls, weekly updates, not so intense that they turn it off, and yet enough that when that home of their dreams pops up, it may cause them to list their house, sell their house, and kind of walk through that process.
Now, the watch stage is, this is where the majority of your leads probably are going to live, right? This is somebody's like, yeah, you know what? I think it's going to happen, maybe not next year, but the year after. Okay, so they're already kind of starting their process. What you're looking to do is every month confirm that's still their timeline to find out when to move them into nurture or hot. This typically is the biggest leak in the sales funnel, is someone actually gives you a time that may not be in the 12 months and there's no follow-up plan.
So how are you going to stay systematically in contact with these individuals? How are you going to build that relationship so that when they think of real estate, they actually think of you? The same numbers come out from NAR every year. Approximately more than 3 out of 4 would use the same agent again. And yet how many do?
1 out of 5.
1 out of 5 or less. I've seen numbers as low as 12%, depending on the buyer or seller, would use the same agent again, but they probably didn't stay in contact, which is such great news for all of us because it's an equal opportunity sport as it pertains to staying in contact with your database. And Mike, is it possible that somebody in your database lives in somebody else's database too?
Oh, it's almost a guarantee. In fact, they're probably in like several.
Well, what we learned at Family Reunion last year is that the average lead is sold 12 times. So is it possible that somebody in your database is also in 11 other databases out there? Who wins?
Well, if it's anything like the World Cup, it's whoever is the last one to make contact gets credit for the goal.
That last contact is likely who they choose as their agent of choice. Okay. Consumer app. So this actually works really well because this came up in our last bit of that conversation around saved searches. Who has it? Who needs it? What's the advantage of the KW consumer app? What are your thoughts, Mike?
Well, in your process is only as good as kind of your documentation. And so if someone is exploring other information that you don't know about and you're expected to be their fiduciary, how do you find out what they're doing? So by using the branded consumer app, you're actually reducing the number of conversations. You're also reducing the time of task switching. So when you have it all in the same timeline on the same contact card, you're able to see and really piece together the narrative of what they're doing, what they're looking at, and where they are.
Yeah, and you may see in their contact timeline that they're looking at 12 houses last night on the consumer app. And then you can see which houses they were looking at and what their excitement is around those. That may mean that their timeline has changed in what they want to do. So how can I tell Mike who has my consumer app?
So when you look at your contact database, and SmartMe says Mike should share his screen, you're looking for the green check mark, right? So this green check mark means they've registered on either your agent site or on your app.
So they have a unique registration for agent site and app. It's the same login they would use for both that would allow them to use either. So how do you get this in front of your consumers?
Well, we have a few smart plans that are just kind of pre-built for this, right? So if I go into the library, you'll find, I believe it's on page 2 here. Nope, 3. At the end of the list is the Promote My App Smart Plan. Right? Almost 100,000 downloads so far. Imagine we'll cross that before family reunion.
I think we may cross that before the end of this year if all of you engage your database and promote your app.
Yeah, and it's really simple. It sends an email, waits a day. If you have a Twilio, it sends a text. If you don't, it tells you, hey, you should send this text. And it waits 3 days and does it again. So there's 3 touches over 5 days. And assuming you're doing this as they're part of the pipeline, whether they're in watch, nurture, or hot, you're going to see a really high conversion rate. If you're just sending this to your database with no context, yeah, I would expect maybe 5% actually do it because they weren't expecting it.
Yeah, so we want to be engaging with your database to find out, would they benefit from having your consumer app? I use it all the time. And I don't mean the command app, I mean the consumer app. I use it on a regular basis to see what properties are popping up. I use it when I travel. Hey, I wonder what properties are going for in this neighborhood or where I'm at. Kind of that thing just to look at and get some kind of idea of valuations or some kind of an idea of what's happening in the market. I find that I use the consumer app far more than I use my agent branded site as a consumer.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, we walk around more with this than we do anything else. Like nobody's like, oh, I forgot my laptop when they go to walk the dog.
And yet, if I forgot my phone, I feel like I forgot.
You're
my
sprinting
shoes.
back to the house. Yeah.
Right. All right. Where do we find the code?
Let's show you. So you'll find this because it's the consumer app. If we look in the consumer section here, right, and you go to site and app settings, you'll find your, oh, where'd it go? Did they move this on me, Tim? Yeah, URLs.
There you go. URLs. Yes.
You'll find it under URLs, and this specific code works for you and you alone. And so you can copy paste it. If you're using the KW created smart plan, we already have it in there as a merge field. So it already knows to look for your app, and so it'll include it. So you don't even have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah. The other way you can do it or share it easily. So we looked at a smart plan. We looked at copying that URL and sharing it. You can also share it from the consumer app itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you can change it. You can send it directly from your consumer app to someone else to say, hey, check out this app I'm using to look at real estate.
Yeah. And you can text it to them pretty quick or WhatsApp it to them or really anything.
Yeah. So the question, can you change the URL? Sure. You could buy a vanity URL and you could have that redirect to that URL there as well and likely do it that way. So yeah. mikesrealestateapp.com, if that's not taken already, you could purchase that and then redirect. All right, so on to our smart plans. It's almost like we knew exactly what the next step was going to be, Mike, as you pulled up smart plans. So who should be on a smart plan?
Really anybody you want to stay consistently in conversation with. See, what makes these plans so smart is they will tell you to do things without having to be reminded if you build the plan right. And so what you don't want to do is have everybody on a smart plan just to make it look like you have somebody there. You want to have a reason, something that matters to that person.
So what's a touch that if they stopped getting, they would say, hey, you know what? I really liked whatever that was. Would they ask for it back?
And I'll let you all come up with your own answer for that one. I have Mike's opinion, but we'll save that for another call.
Right. And when we got the second bullet point on here is touches that make your database smarter. So this could be evaluations of what's their home worth based on what's for sale in their neighborhood, based on areas they're looking at, what's happening with interest rates. That's an ongoing conversation. Are they up, are they down? How does that impact me? Lots of things that you'll come up with that would be touches that your database cares about. I'm just going to give you one that your database doesn't care about. Would that be okay?
Please, Tim.
Yes, they will remember to change their clocks. I promise you. You don't have to send them that touch. It's good. We got it. Their phone will change automatically. So that may be a touch that if you didn't send them this year, and I know most of you didn't, if you forgot to send your database, don't forget to change your clocks. You didn't get fired as an agent because you forgot that. You'll be okay. So as you look at the touches that matter, what do I care about that I actually need my real estate agent to provide me with that data?
Yeah, and you want touches that create conversations, not that create chores for them.
So we have that statement at the bottom of the purpose of prospecting and marketing is literally to invite them into a conversation about real estate. Does that mean every touch is real estate related?
No, it doesn't have to be in order to spark a real estate conversation.
So it could be care calls. Those are still important touches to have. Hey, it could be wishing somebody a happy new year. It could be calling and wishing somebody a happy first day of winter.
Yeah.
That's
Or
this
I
week if you hear this
love
live.
what Megan put in the chat. Sending a $2 bill, right? Something that is just a little out of the ordinary will always start a conversation, right? As a former teller, you could get these in, stacks at $200.
Yep, go to the bank. Actually go to a physical branch of a bank and you should be able to get your $2 bills. There was somebody at Mega Camp one year that was handing out their business card with $2 bills. This many years later, and this was like 6-7 years ago, it's still in my wallet. Kept it because it was unique. It was a great touch. So again, all about inviting them into a conversation about real estate when appropriate. Otherwise, it's simply just touching them. We don't know exactly when somebody's going to buy or sell real estate. So we get to pick the frequency and intensity in which we stay in conversations with them. What questions all of you have? I know we've been asking them along the way. What do we miss?
We spent most of it on the lead gen and lead follow-up piece. And that was intentional because what we want to help you do is create a business that generates business all year round, not just between daylight savings.
Yeah, so one of the questions that I saw pop in the chat box was regarding how do I get a list of who's branded? If you go into your contacts and you filter, you should be able to pick branded to me as a filter.
We're going to go to Mike's contacts. This should be a very short list. We're going to go select a bunch. None of these are going to be branded to me. That won't help. Select a bunch. Or is that up here under filters?
If you click on filter and on the
There it is.
bottom, I see branded to me, the last choice on the left. Who is branded to Mike? And I hit apply. I now should get my 3 people that are in this database with the checkbox.
Yeah, and that's accurate. And there's 1 on my personal side. Yep.
Yeah, a couple questions came in about delivering and challenges that you may be personally experiencing with our technology or with Command. We'd ask that you start with your Market Center tech trainer. They may be able to troubleshoot that for you right in the Market Center. In the event that you don't have a Market Center tech trainer, your regional tech trainer would be a great person to be able to help you with that. And of course, we've got the help desk at KW.
Yeah, chances are you'll get most of the solves from your local or regional leaders, right? The support team is really when technically things aren't connecting the way they should.
Yep. A couple questions again about the recording. Yes, we are recording this. Yes, you will get access to it. I believe you'll see the slides in that recording as well. Take screenshots, whatever you need to do. Susan, looks like your hand's up. What question do you have?
Well, how do you change the I guess the text messages that we send out when we share the app?
So like when you hit share and there's that chunk of text,
Yeah.
You will manually have to edit that on your phone.
So
we have preloaded text that applies to everybody, but if you want to customize it, you can either do a smart plan where you put together your own version of that conversation and include the link and send it either copy paste or by Twilio. But the app text is there by default and is uneditable.
So we have to change it every single time. We can't save it.
If you go that path, I recommend actually a smart plan. So you can just copy and paste it. Or as Jessica Borden says in the chat, talk to your like Market Center regional tech trainer about how to make a text replacement on your phone. So you can simply type like 2 or 3 characters and it'll paste in what you want to say.
Okay. My other question is,
Well, there's one other option for you, Susan. The other option is you can do bulk actions, and you can bulk action SMS up to 500 contacts in your database. We don't recommend more than 200 unique users in a day to get a message. You'll see that pop in, and yet you can bulk action just an SMS as well.
Got it. My other question is, if you have clients that prefer text and not use emails, how do we, because I started to have a no emails in one of my tag, and then no emails or text preferred. I want to be able to send them stuff through the text. How do we do that?
Well, that's going to really kind of depend on what tools you're using. So as far as like sending information, if you use Twilio, you can do it through your command. If it's more on the save search side, there are like push notifications that come on the app rather than email versions. But as far as like sending like images and content, probably most likely you're looking outside of command if all they want is text and that's the only thing they want to do. They're probably doing that by hand just because the price point of a lot of these tools is extremely prohibitive for such a small set of users.
Yeah, now you could also use the command app, and in the command app, you can text from your native phone number.
Mm-hmm.
And that may give you what you need to accomplish, and you can still just take a record of it in the timeline by using it through the command app.
Can you show me? Sorry about that.
I do not have my app shared on this machine, so I can't walk through that. But we can follow up post.
Yeah, we can definitely follow up with that. Simple way, make sure you have the command app downloaded, go to a contact and click text message, and it will give you the option for your Twilio number if you have one, or to use your native device. And we'll be happy to walk through that later on too. Other questions that we can answer in our last couple of minutes together this afternoon or this morning?
Yeah, do you guys have a couple of favorite smart plans that you would want to go over?
It's a great question. Our favorite smart plans.
Ooh, this came up in a Facebook group actually last week. So you can't beat the classics. So if I'm going to build my 36 touch in 4 smart plans or less, it's the quarterly phone call. It's the biweekly neighborhood nurture. That gets me to 30 out of 36, and all I have to do is make the calls. And the other 6 is where you can get creative. So I got to find the exact name for some of these. So Tim, while I stall for time, what are your favorites?
36 touch for sure. So I think anything you can do that's a smart plan that has the defined 33 to 36 touch program that you're going to run with your Met database, that can be incredibly helpful. Those are the ones that I use most often, monthly neighborhood nurture being a big part of that, to get those updates as well. The best smart plans likely are whatever ones that you'll follow the steps that are important for you to follow too. And what I mean by that is where I see people skip steps in smart plans is they often skip the phone call.
Yeah, which actually does 80% of the work of your plan. Like without that, chances are you're doing 5 times the work to get the same conversion.
Mm-hmm. And Jessica's popping a couple in there by Kimber Walton. Yeah, thank you for that as well. Mm-hmm. I see your hand, Phil. What question do you have?
Hey, I was just going to add to that smart plan. I had a couple new agents start for my team, and they used the one that I copied out of that, the R&D, rip off and duplicate, the new to KW. And it was unbelievable announcing the new in here. I had 2 different agents do it. And within 2 weeks, they were directly engaged with 30% of the people they sent it to. Just like I'm here now. And if you have friends and people you care about, we edit it. But super, super powerful. And the only thing I just had to say is, like I said, I hate the term database. It's a data bank because that's where our money is. And Command will turn your database into a data bank because it will easily help you make more money. But thanks for this today, guys. This is awesome.
Sure. Thanks for your contribution, Phil.
Yeah. Thank you, Phil. Justin, I see a hand. Oh, do I
Sorry,
got to
had
break
to
out the
unmute
sign?
myself.
Oh,
Yep.
man.
Can you hear
My
me?
Roadrunner sign. Yep, you're good.
Perfect. Just to elaborate what y'all meant by lead pool, is that just basically every buyer's agent on the team, once they have a total of 100 leads within the opportunities, they're not getting any more? It's all in a big pool for a free for all after that, or what exactly did you mean?
Chances are you're gonna miss major key details once you get above that 100 range. Now you may have like a rock star buyer's agent that can handle 150 leads at the same time, but those are those agents are unicorns. Most people have a social limit around about 100 business relationships they can actively track.
Yeah, we all want to hire Jen Davis to run our buyer team, and yet there's only one of her. So we'll pick on our friend Jen, that she's run an amazing buyer business, and definitely check out her holiday call later this week. We should be talking about overcoming buyer reluctance. And yet, yeah, more than 100 without that unicorn, it gets to be challenging. All right, Paul, I think you're going to be our last question.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is more of the contact database control of filtering, because it's been a couple of years that we've been waiting for this, but for like filtering on more than one tag, do you guys have any hint on when that control will be fixed?
If we had we're in kind of that space where as soon as we know a date, we get it communicated out to your regional tech trainers. What we've stopped doing is half baking features, and we're going to make sure that's a complete and flawless experience before we roll it out. So one trick I use now is I filter by one tag and search by the other, and that allows me to do a single and search, because everything else is an or.
So say that again. So how, like, say I have a Mets tag and a non-Mets tag, and I want to do Mets that have the DTT two-letter of T and J.
So I would filter by Mets.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would search by TG. Now you're going to get possibly some search results where there's a letter combination of TG in their name or their email, but more likely it's going to pull as many of those tags because it looks across the tags.
Oh, it looks okay then. Good. All right. Thank you.
Great question.
This is great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. And, a lot of these questions, these are awesome questions, right? You know who's going to be a really good resource for some of these? Your Maps Mastery coach, because they're going to help you walk through your version of this process. Now, it's hard in a group of like 350 people who have been on this call to get to a lot of those specifics on how you do things. Your coach is going to be able to talk through that with you.
Yep. And I just popped in the chat box. If you're interested in investing in a Maps coach in 2023, please reach out to maps@kw.com. They'll be happy to have a conversation. Mike, it's always a pleasure to be on here with you. I learned something every time we get on a call together.
Yeah, this is probably our 200th or so Zoom call this year, Tim, together.
At least the 200th together this year. So thank all of you for choosing to spend some time in getting ready for 2023. This will just be entertainment if you don't take action.
Mm-hmm.
So take some action on what we covered today. If we can help support you at Maps, please let us know. Have a great holiday season. Mike, I will see you again soon.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get to see some of you in Anaheim in February.
All right, everyone. Have a great day.